Hi, hi, everyone. Um, I wasn't even sure if I should do these today. The live predictions, I mean, because of the fact that I knock off at 4 o'clock South African time, and um, I only have around on average about like an hour. Um, in order to what do you call it, to actually do these predictions, and I know that sometimes they can actually exceed that amount of time. So, but I just decided to do them. Um, Another thing is, I feel like there are going to be a lot of close fights on this particular card. So yeah, it's gonna be a little bit tricky. From on the face of it, actually, when I was like a lot of pretty straightforward fights. But I I don't think that's going to be the case. But in any case, I was waiting for a couple of people to come on before I officially start. So I see someone who's already online. Um, Let me actually just start then. Um, the first fight, what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to go through obviously my picks, and then I'm going to try and predict the rounds, like if it's going to be a finish or if it's going to be a decision. And then what did I do last time after predicting finish and fights? Okay, I'm going to do that, and then there's going to be an upsets video. Alex round one, left hook, ground and pound KO. Okay, I guess we'll just have to wait and see, right? I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Um, Let me get straight to it. Ricky Simone versus Vinicius. Ricky Simone. This is going to be a close fight. Um, I feel like Vinicius has power, and I think he'll have a little bit of an advantage in terms of striking. Um, I think Ricky Simone might have some level of an advantage on the ground, but all in all, I don't know if I don't know, man. It's really difficult to actually trust Vinicius Oliveira. That's why my subscribers and I went with Ricky Simone. But I can honestly say this is one of those, like, it's going to be a coin flip. But but I think Ricky Simone should get it done. But I will say this, full disclaimer. I wouldn't be surprised if Vinicius somehow gets it done. Um, yeah, my subscribers and I went with Ricky Simone. On to the next one. Ray Zeruya versus Carlos Hernandez. Um, my subscribers and I went with Ray Zeruya. Um, However, this is also like the fight is going to be significantly close. On the feed, I think it's going to be um, evenly matched. However, on the ground, I think Ray Zeruya will have the advantage there. So I'm a little bit confident. The problem with this particular card is that there are not that many fights that I feel very confidently about. I think another issue with this particular fight is that um, there have not been that many people that Ray has fought, whereas Carlos Hernandez has been tested basically against a lot of competition. So that's what makes it, a little bit tricky to actually predict. But nonetheless, I feel like Ray will find a way to get it done. Um, my subscribers and I went with Ray but I think it's a coin flip, largely because I feel like Ray has looked impressive, but it was on the contender series, right? So it was kind of difficult to actually know if he's going to be able to. Um, do you have any dildo suggest? What's the? Oh. Anyway, so yeah, my subscribers and I went with Ray Turuya. But it's a coin flip. It depends on whether or not Ray Turuya actually shows up. On to the next one. Andrei Arlovsky versus Martin Buday. Another close fight. Um, this is going to be one of the most. I think people are going to be surprised at how many fights are going to be close. There might there might even be a lot of upsets on this particular card because of the amount of closeness of these particular fights, and there are a lot of fights that are short notice. So it's gonna be interesting to see how this whole thing plays out, but it's gonna be very, very wild. Obviously, Martin Buday. However, I see a path of victory for Andrei Arlovsky to some extent. I'm not very confident about this. I mean, Andrei Arlovsky is very old. Even though my official pick is even though my official pick is Martin Buday, I'm not. I'm not very heavily confident on that particular pick because there are a lot of ways that Andrei Arlovsky could find a way to win because I feel like on the feed they will be evenly matched, on the ground they will be evenly matched. So it's kind of challenging to actually accurately predict whether or not Martin Bude will be able to get it done. However, I mean, Andrei Arlovsky is old now. If Martin Bude cannot get it done, I think he should be cut from the UFC because this should constitute a layup, basically. But yeah, I think Martin Bude should win, but from based on my research, it might be a coin flip, especially after how Martin Bude looked in his previous fight. Anyway, on to the next one: Michelle Watterson versus Julian Robertson. I feel very confidently that Julian Robertson will win. However, it's women's MMA, right? I mean, in women's MMA, anything can happen. You can't feel very confidently about any pick in women's MMA, largely because anything can happen. Quite literally, anything can happen. So yeah, my subscribers and I went with Gillian Robertson. However, I feel like um, I don't know. Michelle Watterson is old, man. The only person that I've ever seen compete at a high level in the women's division has been Holly Holm. The majority of them start to drop, they start to decline. Yes, to decline. After 35, they start to decline. And even though I know that Michelle Watterson is the better striker in this particular instance, it's kind of difficult for me to actually go with her at her age and especially how she's looked. I don't feel like she's training as hard. And even if she is, I feel like Gillian Robertson will be able to partially stand, and be safe on the feed. And then on the ground, yeah, I think Gillian Robertson will have the advantage. However, I know that Michelle Watterson is not very easy to take down. So that's going to be the tricky part about this whole thing. But my subscribers and I officially picked Gillian Robertson to get it done. On to the next one. This is probably the only fight that I feel extremely confidently about. Peyton Talbot versus Yanis Gemori. I mean, I don't think there's anyone who's not picking Peyton Talbot. Anyone who's picking Yanis, I don't know. I don't know. So Peyton is better, I think, almost everywhere. He'll be able to keep the fight on the feet. I think the only way Yanis has a shot at winning is if he manages to take the fight to the ground, and I don't think it's going to get there. I don't think Peyton is going to let him get the fight there. Um, I also think Peyton is good enough to actually be considered like a future contender and even potentially a champion. If anything, ranked contenders right now. But I get what the UFC is trying to do. They are making sure that they see the potential to become a superstar in Peyton, and they're trying to build him the right way by not rushing him into big fights, by giving him experience against um, good fighters, but who are not experienced, basically. And I like that for Peyton, but I feel like he is ready to fight ranked contenders. So yeah, this is probably going to be the only pick that I feel very confidently about. My subscribers and I went with Peyton Talbot. On to the next one, Charles Jourdain versus Gene Silva. My subscribers went with Charles Jourdain, and I went with Gene Silva. This is probably going to be the only fight that, not on the fence actually. I am confident that Gene Silva is going to win. However, he's only had one fight in the UFC, and I'm judging it based on a couple of things, but it's really difficult to tell. But the one thing that gives me a little bit more confidence in the Gene Silva pick is the fact that he trains with the Fighting Nerds, which have been producing extremely talented fighters. People like Carlos Prates, people like what do you call him? The dude who's fighting at middleweight. I forgot his name, but he's also really, really, really good. He's on a streak. I don't know. There's so many fighters fighting out of um, the Fighting Nerds gym who are on long streaks. So that gives me a little bit of confidence. So this is one of the two or three fights that I feel extremely confident about. I think Gene Silva will most likely win this one. I mean, um, Charles Jourdain is Jourdain is a very tricky fighter to actually prepare for. So I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but based on my research, it should be easy. But this is also because Gene Silva has not faced a lot of high level competition in the UFC. So probably that's why I feel this confidently. But even if it goes to a decision, I feel like Gene Silva will find a way to actually get it done. My subscribers went with Charles Jourdain. I went with Gene Silva. I feel very confidently about Gene Silva. But yeah, I don't know. I don't feel like Charles Jourdain is a high level fighter to the extent that I should be worried. And like I said, it gives me confidence to know that Gene Silva is training with those like elite fighters, basically. So yeah, on to the next one: Cub Swanson versus Andre Feely. My subscribers and I went with Andre Feely, but this is another one where I'm not very confident about this particular pick because Cub Swanson could actually get the upset here. I think Cub Swanson will be better on the feet, and the best path to victory for Andre Feely is potentially to take the fight to the ground, because on the feet it's going to be very tricky for him to actually get it done. I mean, it's possible, but also, Cap Swanson is very old, so it's going to impact how he fights, his speed, his ability to take shots. So that might be a factor into how Cap Swanson performs. But I wouldn't be shocked if Cap Swanson wins. Um, but yeah, on to the next one: Joe Pyfer versus Marc Andre Barriault. Gonna be. I know a lot of people feel confidently about picks, but I have a feeling this is going to be a fight card where, like, a lot of people are shocked by the results. I can't wait to do my upsets predictions because I see a lot of upsets here. So Joe Pyfer versus Marc-Andre Barriault. My official pick and my subscribers' official pick is Joe Pyfer. However, I also see a path for Marc-Andre Barriault to actually win this fight. I mean, obviously, Joe Pyfer has power. He can knock him out, but um, I feel like on the feet, the Marc Andre is a little bit better defensively, and slightly offensively because I think he throws a little bit more than Joe Pfeiffer. Um, and then when it comes to the ground, I mean, on the ground, I feel like it's tree. I don't know, man. For Joe Pfeiffer, I think it's evenly matched. But on the feed, obviously because of power, I'll give the advantage to Joe Pfeiffer. But when we talk about volume, when we talk about defense, when we talk about accuracy, um, I would lean a little bit more. Check your lineup here, man. Okay, so I would when it comes to defense and the amount of strikes thrown, and accuracy, I'm leaning more towards Mark Andre. But my official pick and my subscribers' official pick is Joe Pfeiffer. But like I said, and like I always say, I wouldn't be shocked if Mark Andre wins this one. That's why I'm saying this is going to be a wild card. I'm not very confident about a lot of the picks here. On to the next one. Ian Machado Gary versus Michael Venom Page. Oh my goodness. Initially, if you watched my early predictions, I actually said I think Michael Venom Page is going to beat Ian Gary, but my official pick as of today after my analysis is Ian Gary. My subscribers also picked Ian Gary. I'm not confident about this pick. I think Michael Venom Page is an incredible striker. He doesn't throw a lot, but he is very good defensively and is very accurate. He doesn't throw a lot, but whenever he throws, he makes sure he lands, right? And he lands impactfully, right? He doesn't when he lands, like, there's a possibility he might go out. Um, but I feel like he's older now, and I know he looked good against Kevin Holland, but I don't know if that's because Michael Venom Page is that good, or it's because Kevin Holland doesn't take a lot of fights seriously. So it's kind of difficult to actually gauge that performance, um, as to is he really good, or is it because Kevin Holland doesn't take any fight seriously? But nonetheless, I think it's going to be a coin flip. It could go either way. To when it comes to striking, I actually feel like Ian Gary might actually grapple in this fight. I know he's not known for it, but if you look at his fights outside the UFC, I've seen Ian Gary grapple a little bit, so I think he might implement it here, especially because Michael Venom Page sometimes gets, taken down a little bit easily. So that might be Ian Gary's plan. I wouldn't be shocked if Ian Gary tries to grapple. So on the ground, I'd give the slight advantage to Ian Gary, and which I think is going to be his plan, actually, just to grab on this particular fight, and which would be smart, especially fighting some risk, in my opinion. So I think Ian Gary might grapple, he might not, he might be cocky, but I feel like he has a variety of ways to win. Um, but yeah, another coin flip. Um, but my subscribers and I officially went with Ian Machado Gary. Why does this dude use his wife's surname? Anyway, Mayra Bueno Silva versus Macy Chesson. My subscribers and I went with Mayra Bueno Silva. Um, this card, this card, really wild. Yeah, the only picks I've been confident about so far is Peyton and Jean Silva and maybe Ray Zuruya. Everything else is just a mess for me. Like, to be honest, everything else is just a mess. Bueno Silva should actually win this one, but after losing to Pennington, I'm very doubtful that. I don't know, man. I don't know, but I feel like Bueno Silva will be a little bit better on the feed for to some extent. Obviously, Chiasson will have the reach advantage, which if she knows how to use it, she might get some level of an advantage because of it. But I feel like Bueno Silva has the ability to strike, and I don't think cardio will be that much of an issue. because it's not 5 rounds, it's 3 rounds. So she can go all out. But uh, I don't know. I think it's also a coin flip. But my official pick and my subscribers' official pick is Mayra Bueno Silva. But I think Macy Chiasson has a shot at winning. But I feel a little bit more confidently about this. Even though Mayra Bueno Silva looked horrible in the championship fight, um, yeah, this is gonna be crazy. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see, man. But yeah, my official pick and my subscribers' official pick is Mayra Bueno Silva. On to the next one: Anthony Smith versus Roman Dolidze. Another close one. Roman Dolidze has power. I think Roman Dolidze on the feet. I think Roman. I'd give the advantage to Roman Dolidze because of the power, but I think they will be slightly or rather evenly matched. I think in terms of accuracy, I'd lean more towards Anthony Smith. I think he lands a lot of his shots, a little bit more of his shots than Roman Dolidze. Defensively, I think Roman Dolidze is a little bit better on the feed. Um, yeah, I think Roman Dolidze is a little bit better on the feed. So offensively, I will lean towards Anthony Smith. Defensively, I will lean towards Roman Dolidze. But because of the power on the feed, I don't know. I think Roman Dolidze will have some level of an advantage because of power, but power goes away after the first round to some extent. Okay, it doesn't go our way, but like you become a little bit slower, especially if you're Roman Dolidze, because I don't feel like Anthony Smith or Roman Dolidze are that good. So it just comes down to who's horrible, who's more horrible on that night. And I think Anthony Smith is more comfortable fighting at light heavyweight more than Roman Dolidze. I think he's fought. I think he has a little bit more experience than Roman Dolidze, and I know that a lot of people are pointing out the fact that Roman Dolidze was in camp, preparing for a fight at middleweight. Maybe that might give him an advantage, and that's basically why I say it's a coin flip for me. Actually, call this particular fight, but my official pick and my subscribers' official pick. My subscribers actually went with Roman Dolidze, but they ended up changing their pick to Anthony Smith. I think yesterday, I got it, and then the pick changed. So they went with Anthony Smith along with me. On to the main event of the evening: Brian Ortega versus Diego Lopez. I think Diego Lopez should win this one, but I'm worried about his takedown defense. It's horrible. Brian Ortega can wrestle, and if he can't knock out Brian Ortega, um, I don't know what's going to happen. I just see Diego Lopez just sitting on his bag, trying to get a submission and failing to get that submission for I don't know, 3 rounds. However, my official pick and my subscribers' official pick is Diego Lopez. I think Movzar Evloev was a little bit more aggressive, and I don't see Brian Ortega being more aggressive in terms of grappling than Movzar Evloev. So Diego Lopez was able to survive that kind of onslaught from Movzar on short notice. I think he's going to be able to survive anything that Brian Ortega. And I think he was threatening a lot of submissions in that fight. I actually remember against Movzar. So I don't think Brian Ortega will be good defensively enough, even on the ground, to actually avoid getting submitted. On the feet, Diego Lopez has a lot of power, significantly more power. But yeah, I think on the feet, I'll give the advantage to Diego Lopez. Um, I think Brian Ortega is good offensively, not defensively, and because of his horrible defense, it means Diego Lopez will be able to land a big shot and knock him out. So I think that's what's going to happen. But Yeah, basically. But my official pick and my subscribers' official pick is Diego Lopez. Main event of the evening: Alex Pereira versus Jiri Prochazka. My subscribers and I went with Alex Pereira, and I struggled with this pick because their first fight, I actually picked Jiri Prohaska to actually win, and he didn't. But he looked good. I think Jiri Prohaska did better than anyone who's ever fought Alex Pereira. The only biggest issue that Jiri Prohaska had in that fight was that he wasn't checking leg kicks, which basically accumulated to damage takedowns, and he found himself in a very compromising position, and he got finished. But Jiri Prohaska was light heavyweight. Um, on top of that, Alex Pereira is a little bit older now. I mean, I know it doesn't mean as much at light heavyweight, but we have to take that into consideration. Um, in all honesty, when I was looking at everything, they are very evenly matched, despite the fact that Alex Pereira got a knockout. And I also thought about this, but I still went with Alex Pereira when I picked. But right now, it's short notice, right? So the most important things that you have to take into consideration is who's more likely to be training, even outside of a fight being booked between the both of them. Um, the person who's Pereira by submission. I mean, it's possible. I was actually thinking about it. I was like, I mean, it's not like Jiri Prohaska is a really incredible grappler. Sure, he got a submission against Glover, making mistakes. So it is possible, because people are not expecting it from him, he could actually get it done. But between the both of them, it looks like Alex Pereira was on vacation, right? Jiri Prohaska was most likely training. So that's something that you can take into consideration because I know that Jiri was not just relaxing for sure. So that might play into what happens in the main event. But I wouldn't be shocked if Jiri wins. But my official pick and my subscribers' official pick is Alex Pereira. So let me try and predict um, how the fights are going to end. Ricky Simon versus Vinicius Oliveira. I think Ricky Simon is defensively good enough to actually avoid getting finished. I think this fight is going to be a decision. Um, Rey Zeruyo versus Carlos Hernandez. I don't know. I don't know, but because of the fact that I don't know, I don't feel like. Yeah, it's really difficult. I also think this one might go to a decision because they are closely matched, and I feel like Carlos will probably be able to survive somehow enough to get to a decision, especially because even though I feel like Reiteruya is a really good prospect, he has not been tested. This is going to be his first official test in the UFC. He might surprise us and get a finish, but the way things look right now, but he's untested. So I'm leaning more towards a decision because probably Carlos will be a little bit more difficult than anyone he's ever faced, probably. So this one will probably also be a decision. Andrei Arlovsky versus Martin Buday. Um, Probably another decision because so far it's three decisions. So yeah, I think this is also going to be a decision. Yeah, I think it's going to also be a decision. Michelle Watterson versus Gillian Robertson. I think Gillian Robertson could find a way to actually finish this fight, but if this was a men's fight, but it's women's MMA, so I think Gillian Robertson might dominate the fight, but I don't know if she's going to finish it, especially because um, Gomez is not easy to take down. So I can't really confidently say this is going to be a finish. So another decision. Peyton Talbot versus Yanis Gemori. Yeah, this is definitely going to end in a finish. I think Peyton is going to get a finish. Which round? First or second round? think Peyton is going to finish this fight. Charles Jourdain versus Gene Silva. Yeah, it's going to end in a finish. Someone is getting submitted. I picked Gene Silva. My subscribers went with Charles Jourdain, but I think either of them, either Gene Silva is going to finish him, or Charles Jourdain is going to, on the ground, Charles Jourdain is going to reverse it and finish him. On the feed, Gene Silva is probably going to knock out Charles Jourdain, but this is this is not going to go to a decision. Also, this is probably round one or round two finish. Um, Cobb Swanson versus Andre Feely. I think it's going to be a decision. I think this one is going to be a decision. Yeah, I think it's going to be a decision. I think they are very closely matched. Even though Cap Swanson is older now, I think he's going to be good enough to survive up until a decision. I don't think Andre Feely is dangerous enough to finish Cap Swanson, so this is probably going to be a decision. Joe Pfeiffer versus Marc Andre Barrios. Um, Marc Andre is not like a good finisher. Joe Pfeiffer has power, but I think Marc Andre might be able to be safe defensively and avoid get finished. It's possible here. I don't know because Joe Pfeiffer will be coming in there to make a statement to try and prove to himself to Dana White that you know what I've improved and all these type of things. So it's highly possible that Joe Pfeiffer might actually find a way to get a finish here. I wouldn't be surprised, but I think Marc Andre Barrios is not like a pushover. He's going to find a way to actually survive. So I'm leaning more towards a decision here as well. Ian Machado Gary versus Michael Venom Page. Um, I don't know. Both of them are talking about hurting each other. But you know, when people say that, it normally doesn't happen. And they don't finish fights. Both of them. I mean, when was the last time Ian Gary finished a fight? When was the last time Michael Venom Page finished a fight? So I also think this is gonna be a decision. Mayra Bueno Silva versus Macy Chiasson. I mean, it's women's MMA. mean, but Bueno Silva, if anyone is going to get a finish, I think it should be Bueno Silva. The decision here. Anthony Smith versus Roman Dolidze. They're coming in on short notice, but Roman Dolidze was in camp. I think a decision. I think Roman Dolidze is good on the ground. I think the fight will be evenly matched on the feet. Um, yeah, but I don't think Roman Dolidze will be able to submit Anthony Smith, and I don't think Anthony Smith is going to be able to submit Dolidze. So we are looking at a stand-up fight. I think Anthony Smith will be able to survive enough to avoid getting knocked out. I mean, it's possible, but I also don't feel like Roman Dolidze is that good. But I mean, he has knockout power, and that could happen. But I feel like this is also going to be a decision. I predicted so many decisions, dog. Brian Ortega versus Diego Lopez. I think Diego Lopez is going to find a way to finish this fight. I don't think it's going to get to a decision. Which round? I think the first round. I think Diego Lopez is going to finish this fight in the first round. How do I think? Probably by KO. Because I think Diego Lopez's team will probably, hopefully, they're smart enough to know that if it goes to the ground, Brian Ortega might be able to survive to some extent, unless Diego Lopez knocks him down and then finds a way to get like a submission while he's wobbled or while he's like semi-unconscious and maybe lock in some type of a submission. But a submission will only come, in my opinion, will only come from a knockdown. But I think the safest prediction is a knockdown. It's a knockout. I think Diego Lopez will probably win by a round one knockout. Alex Pereira versus Jiri Prochazka. Jiri is so aggressive that it's. I don't know. I don't think it's going to get to a decision. Either Jiri is going to be so recklessly aggressive that he gets finished, or he becomes so recklessly aggressive that he actually finds a finish. Upsets prediction, just to give you guys an idea of. I think you guys, I already gave you the kind of fights that I actually feel confidently about, but basically I'm going to look at the odds and just predict basically if there's a possibility for an upset there. But I mean, I think I've already done that, but I'll do that for the sake of accuracy. And I like going live, I like talking to you guys. Yeah, this is going to be a card I think that's going to be full of decisions. I think it's the main event. The main event will have a finish. The co-main event will have a finish. Peyton Talbot will have a finish. Charles Abargan Gene Silva, the fight between Gene Silva and Charles Jourdain, there will be a finish there. Maybe less the finishes that will be there. I think the finishes on this particular card, there will be approximately six maybe decisions. So yeah, I'll see you guys Friday when I do like the upsets predictions. I love and appreciate all of you. Until next time, deuces.